Okay, let's work on this challenging problem. This one's going to be a bit of a challenge. We're going to have some fractions to deal with here. Okay, first thing we want to do is find our amplitude. Amplitude is always the absolute value of A, where A is the number multiplying your sine or cosine. In this case, that's -5. Absolute value of -5 is +5. Remember, amplitude is always positive. Okay, next we find our period. Period is 2 pi over b, where b is the number in front of x. So 2 pi over 2, that's just going to be pi. Next we find our phase shift. That's always opposite of c over b. Here c, the number that's added or subtracted inside, is -pi over 3. So opposite of c will be +pi over 3 over 2. And I got to do a little work with fractions here. I'm going to have pi over 3 times 1/2. Remember, this is really 2 over 1. Keep, change to multiply, flip. My phase shift is pi over 6. That'll be my new start. We find those next. Our vertical shift is 0. We have no vertical shift. We find our start and end by setting the inside equal to 0 and the inside equal to 2 pi. Always for sine and cosine, secant and cosecant even. Inside equal to 0 and 2 pi. Okay, this one's going to be easy. Move the pi over 3 over. We'll get 2x equals pi over 3. Divide both sides by 2. And we're going to get x is pi over 6. That 2 is going to come down and multiply the 3. Over here, we're going to have to do quite a bit of work. So moving the pi over 3 over, we're going to have a 2 pi plus another pi over 3. I'm going to have to get a common denominator to add these fractions. And that common denominator will be 3. So I'm going to have to rewrite this 2 pi as 6 pi over 3. I multiplied top and bottom by 3. Then I can add the fractions. I've got 6 pi over 3 plus 1 pi over 3. That will be 7 pi over 3s. Then bring the 2 over. That 2 is going to multiply the 3 on the bottom. My end will be 7 pi over 6. Remember, your start should always equal the phase shift. Did it? Yes. Look at that. Right there. Right there. In fact, let me draw a little arrow there and go, ooh, yep. That's your first check. Your second check is end minus start should always equal the period. So let's check that. 7 pi over 6 minus 1 pi over 6 will be 6 pi over 6. I could leave it like that, or I could reduce it. Pi. What did I get for the period? Hey, I got pi. Yay. Check. Okay, we find our scale. X scale is the period over 4. So my period, I just wrote it a second ago, was pi. So my period's going to be pi over, or my x scale is pi over 4. Now look at these different fractions. I've got 6s and 4s. I kind of want all of these to have the same denominator. So I could multiply them together and make everybody 24s. That would work. I can use anything that 4 and 6 both go into, and the smallest is 12. So I'm going to make all three of these denominators, even the period, I'm going to make everybody over 12 so that I'm working with the same fraction. So to get from 4 to 12, I have to multiply top and bottom by 3. So that's what I'm going to be counting by, 3 pi over 12. Here, to make the denominator 12, I have to multiply top and bottom by 2. My start will be 2 over 12, and my end will be 14 pi over 12. Okay, now everybody has a common denominator. I can even do it here with the period if I want. My period will be 12 pi over 12. All right, now we're ready to start graphing. Who are we graphing? I don't even remember. Negative sine. So, we got to deal with that negative also. All right, so let's draw a nice pretty sine wave. Draw several cycles of sine. We had no vertical shift, so our x-axis is going to come right through the middle. So let's label that. There's our x-axis. My start and end. Who am I graphing? I'm graphing negative sine. Negative sine starts at an intercept where I'm going down. So here, let's label or color code one complete cycle here. This will be one complete period of negative sine. Right here. All right, so let's label our start and end. And I don't remember what they were. 2 pi over 12 and 14 pi over 12. So 2 over 12, that's right here. That's my start. Here's my end right there. 14 over 12. Now I'm just going to keep labeling a whole bunch of points. I'm going to label this crest, or this trough, this intercept, this crest, and what am I counting by? I'm counting by 3 over 12s. So I'm at 2. If I go up 3, I'll be at 5 pi over 12. Plus 3 more will be 8. Plus 3 more will be 11. 3 plus 11 would be 14. Yay! If you don't land on that end, you've done goofed somewhere. Okay, and I could keep going if I wanted to. This would be 17 over 12. Okay, let's go backwards. So I'm at 2. The next place I'm going to label is right here. And then here. Then here. So 2 minus 3 would be negative 1 over 12. And then the next one, minus 3, would be negative 4 pi over 12. Wait a minute, you may notice something. I went from positive to negative and I didn't accidentally hit 0 anywhere. Normally, on most of these, you're just going to run into 0. It's going to be an accident. You're going to be like, hey, I landed on 0. There's my y-axis. That didn't happen here. I went from positive to negative and never actually landed on 0. So I'm going to have to kind of guess where it is. So I went from 2 to negative 1. 0's in here somewhere, and it's going to be closer to negative 1 than 2. So I'm just going to have to kind of eyeball it. It's about right there. There will be 0. That's my y-axis. X equals 0 is your y-axis. Okay, let's keep labeling a couple more. So that was negative 4. I'm going backwards by 3, so negative 7. The next one will be negative 10. pi over 12. Okay, last thing we got to put in is our amplitude. That's our maximum, not that spot right here. I'm not going to be labeling this location because that's not the highest. I want to label how high I get overall. So kind of going over from there and down to my lowest, which will be about here. And that's my amplitude, 5. And I could, if I wanted to, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1. You know, you can count them off by ones, or you can just go, all right, well, that's up to 5, down to -5. And we want to make sure we've labeled some on either side of the y-axis. See, I've got some positives and some some negatives labeled. Okay, and that's a good place to stop.